Michigan, a state famous for its vast lakes, lush green fields that stretch endlessly, and bustling industrial areas that drive the economic strength of the nation. This is a place where nature and industry blend, offering a captivating beauty and prosperity. But hidden beneath this dazzling picture is another story, one that many people never see. Behind the peaceful beaches of Lake Michigan, the bustling cities, and the wide, expansive roads lies a dark world where homeless people struggle to survive. They are not fleeting images in tourist pictures or beautiful tales of progress. These are people living on the margins of society, facing poverty, illness, and a bleak future. Did you know that beneath the tranquil exterior of Michigan, there lies a world full of suffering, despair, and untold stories of forgotten lives? Did you know that just a few streets away, a few blocks down, there are slums, makeshift tents, and places where thousands of people have no roof over their heads to shield them from the sun or rain? Today, we will open the door to another Michigan, a Michigan not known to everyone. We will explore the increasingly severe homelessness situation here. This is not just a journey to understand statistics or the hard paths homeless people must walk, but also a search for the truth about a system that is failing to protect the most vulnerable people in society. Michigan, known for its breathtaking natural beauty, from deep blue lakes to endless green fields, is facing a heartbreaking reality that few know about. In a place where most people only see prosperity and development, another world is gradually being forgotten. Over 18,000 people are homeless every night, while large cities like Detroit, Flint, and Grand Rapids have become hotspots for homelessness. These numbers are not just cold data. They are the stories of people filled with pain, living in makeshift camps, facing the cold winds of harsh winters, and the relentless hunger that never lets up. The rise in homelessness in Michigan is not an unexpected phenomenon. It is the consequence of many factors linked to everyday life. Housing prices are rising, and with the average income being just around $35,000 a year, many working people cannot afford basic living expenses. As the housing market becomes scarce and hard to access, thousands of families, especially low-income workers, are forced into homelessness. Additionally, the shortage of affordable healthcare services and job instability have pushed many people to the brink of despair. Those unlucky enough to suffer from illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, or other serious health problems cannot access the necessary care, worsening their health conditions further. While there are some temporary housing programs, these efforts still cannot keep up with the increasing number of homeless individuals. Shelters are now facing serious overcrowding. These shelters not only lack basic facilities, but also fail to provide adequate medical services or psychological support for those in need. Thousands of families, particularly those with children and veterans, still live in destitution, facing loneliness, illness, and basic shortages that society cannot meet. This system is failing to protect the most vulnerable members of society, leaving them to struggle with hardships that no one should endure in a civilized society. Detroit, a city known for its great industrial history and glorious past, has now become the epicenter of a homelessness crisis. In just the past 5 years, the number of homeless people here has doubled, a clear sign of instability in society. Areas that were once symbols of development, such as Midtown and downtown Detroit, with their skyscrapers, busy shops, and crowded streets lit up with flashing lights, have now become home to thousands of homeless individuals. These once bright streets now bear witness to lives drowned in despair, living in terrible conditions without homes, futures, or protection. Winter in Michigan, with temperatures dropping below -10 degrees Fahrenheit, exacerbates the severity of the situation. The bone-chilling cold is not just the nightly terror for the homeless, but a battle for survival that they must face every hour, every minute. Each gust of cold wind blowing from Lake Michigan through the streets, each passing night, is a life or death challenge. The thin tarpaulin, though it might be all they have, cannot block the terrifying cold of winter. The shelters, despite their best efforts, still cannot accommodate all those who need help. The living conditions there lack everything, from space to basic medical services. In particular, those with severe illnesses, especially mental health issues, often do not receive the care they need, causing them to continue struggling in despair. Besides the chill of winter, the shortage of clean water, medicine, and healthcare further worsens the health conditions of the homeless. Hunger, cold, and the inability to access necessary medical services are the main causes of their physical and mental deterioration. They not only endure loneliness, but also face a slow death in the extremely harsh conditions that society seems to have forgotten. Although some temporary shelters have been set up, the homeless still struggle in shelters that are not equipped to provide them with the proper care, especially those with mental disorders, who cannot find the essential help. What is truly tragic is that in a society where development and prosperity are always emphasized, the homeless face unimaginable hardships. They live in a system that cannot protect them, in a society that sometimes only sees them as silent ghosts drifting through the streets, unnoticed, invisible. Their stories are never told, and their dreams seem buried in poverty and despair. The homelessness crisis in Michigan is not a natural phenomenon, but a consequence of complex social factors that have persisted for years. Among the primary causes of this situation, housing costs are particularly important and prominent. Major cities like Detroit and Grand Rapids, where most of the economy and population are concentrated, have witnessed a sharp increase in rent prices in recent years. In the past 3 years, rent has risen nearly 60%, creating a crisis not only for low-income families, but also for middle-income workers. The average salary in Michigan today is about $35,000 per year, a figure that seems enough for a stable life if living costs weren't so high. However, rental prices in major cities like Detroit have surpassed $1,200 per month. For a family earning only $35,000 a year, this is an enormous expense, taking up almost a third of their income. When paying for housing, many families are left with no money to meet other essential needs such as food, healthcare, education for their children, and daily expenses. This not only makes life precarious, but also gradually pushes them into poverty, and when they can no longer maintain stable housing, they are forced to face life on the streets. In addition to rising housing costs, the shortage of affordable housing in Michigan is becoming increasingly severe. It is estimated that Michigan is currently short of at least 50,000 affordable homes to meet the real needs of the population. Low-income individuals and working families cannot find stable housing at reasonable prices. Although some affordable housing projects have been launched, they are not enough to meet the growing demand. These projects are often delayed, underfunded, or not developed properly to accommodate the number of people in need of housing. As a result, thousands of people, especially families with children, the elderly, and veterans, cannot find stable housing. They are forced to live in slums, overcrowded shelters, or even on the streets, lacking everything, from food to clean water. Another cause that cannot be overlooked is the rise in crime and drug use, which has exacerbated the homelessness crisis in Michigan. Drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamine have become a major issue not only for the homeless, but for the entire community. According to statistics, more than 45% of the homeless in Detroit and Flint are addicted to drugs, creating a vicious cycle. The increase in drug use not only reduces the ability of homeless individuals to maintain employment and stable lives, but also makes them more vulnerable to violence, crime, and deteriorating health. Addicts live in desperate conditions, deprived of basic needs, unable to take care of themselves, and most have nowhere to seek help. Drugs not only destroy the body, but also weaken the mind and control of one's life. For the homeless, drugs further increase their isolation from society, pushing them further away from opportunities for support and help. The link between homelessness and addiction has become inseparable, as these individuals, for various reasons, cannot escape street life and the devastation of drugs. These causes combine to create a social tragedy where the poorest and most vulnerable individuals struggle with a system that cannot protect them. Rising housing costs, the shortage of affordable housing, and the spread of drug-related crime are factors that contribute to the increase in homelessness in Michigan. Poor workers and low-income families, in their attempt to find a home, are confronted with a harsh and inaccessible housing market. Furthermore, the destruction caused by drugs makes the lives of those already in difficult circumstances even more miserable, as there is not enough support to help them break free from this vicious cycle. With these causes, Michigan faces a major challenge: how to improve homelessness and provide opportunities for the most vulnerable members of society. Current policies are insufficient to address this issue comprehensively. Solutions need to change, from building more affordable housing, improving healthcare services, to creating addiction recovery programs to help individuals regain a stable and healthy life. Without deep and decisive reforms, homelessness in Michigan will continue to be a serious issue, affecting not only the cities but society as a whole. Homelessness in Michigan is not just a social issue. It also has a profound impact on health, public security, and the economy. The rapid increase in the number of homeless individuals in major cities like Detroit, Flint, and Grand Rapids has become an urgent problem, affecting not only the poor but also causing serious consequences for society as a whole. One of the most obvious impacts is on public health. Homeless individuals in Michigan are facing severe health issues due to harsh living conditions. Poor nutrition, a lack of basic food, and no access to timely medical services are worsening their health. Diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, and respiratory illnesses have become common in the homeless community, but they cannot access the necessary health care. A lack of medicine, medical supervision, and unsanitary living conditions are making these illnesses worse, pushing patients into a state of decline. Many homeless people cannot receive medical care because they lack health insurance, cannot afford treatment, or simply do not have access to healthcare facilities. As a result, they live with serious illnesses without proper treatment, leading to a higher mortality rate within the homeless community. Homelessness also contributes to rising crime rates, impacting public safety. As the homeless population grows, areas with large numbers of people living on the streets face an increase in crime. The deprivation of basic needs, from food and water to medicine and daily living essentials, makes the homeless more susceptible to criminal behavior. Theft, property crimes, and domestic violence become frequent problems in areas with high homelessness rates. These individuals, especially those struggling with drug addiction such as fentanyl and methamphetamine, are easily drawn into the cycle of crime. The increasing prevalence of addiction in the homeless community means many individuals lose the ability to control their behavior. This escalates the risk of violence and property crimes in these areas. When desperation reaches its peak, many resort to illegal means to survive, from stealing food to snatching property, creating a threat not only to themselves but to the surrounding community. The issue of homelessness doesn't just impact health and public safety, it also has a far-reaching effect on Michigan's economy. While the state is witnessing strong economic growth in various sectors, the cost of addressing homelessness has become a heavy burden on the city's budgets. Emergency healthcare services, shelters, and homeless support programs are quickly increasing in cost. Hospitals are facing overcrowding, with the number of emergency cases from homeless individuals rising steadily. This not only places tremendous pressure on the healthcare system, but also increases the financial strain on the city. Charitable services, nonprofit organizations, and homeless support programs all require significant financial resources to continue their operations. However, the growing number of homeless individuals makes it impossible for these organizations to meet the demand. Moreover, homelessness negatively impacts real estate values and the tourism industry. Areas with large homeless populations often witness a decrease in property values, causing hesitation among investors and prospective property buyers. Neighborhoods that were once vibrant now become deserted and unsafe, making it harder for the tourism industry to attract visitors. Tourists typically avoid areas with rising crime and homelessness, leading to a decrease in tourism revenue, which is a vital sector for Michigan's economy. Not only that, but property values also drop, causing property owners to suffer from the depreciation of their assets. Therefore, homelessness in Michigan is not just a problem for the homeless, but a larger issue for society as a whole. The impacts on health, public safety, and the economy are consequences that cannot be overlooked. Addressing this issue requires strong cooperation between government agencies, social organizations, and the community. Without significant changes in housing policies, healthcare, and support services, homelessness will continue to be a major burden for Michigan society, affecting every aspect, from public health to the economy and public safety. The current homelessness support policies in Michigan are clearly not strong enough to address this urgent situation. While government agencies have implemented some homeless support programs, these efforts have not been able to meet the growing demand, especially as the homeless population continues to rise rapidly. Housing support programs can only assist a small portion of those in need. Homeless individuals who face challenges with paperwork or have serious health issues often cannot access these supports. These programs typically require valid documentation, while many homeless individuals are unable to provide the necessary documents, or they face mental health issues that prevent them from fully participating in these support programs. As a result, they are left behind and unable to access the basic help they desperately need. Additionally, the current shelters and support programs are still very uneven, especially in areas like Detroit and Flint. Many places still lack stable support centers and the necessary infrastructure to help the homeless. The shelters in Michigan, while set up to provide temporary shelter, often fail to meet hygiene standards and lack essential medical services. Homeless individuals endure poor living conditions and lack proper health care. These shelters are often overcrowded, making it impossible for everyone to find temporary accommodation. Many people are forced to sleep on the cold ground in overcrowded camps, lacking privacy and safety. Meanwhile, the remaining shelters do not have the resources to provide health care and address mental health issues, causing the condition of these individuals to worsen over time. The public housing system in Michigan is also insufficient to meet the actual needs. Although public housing projects are planned, these projects frequently face financial, management, and delays in progress. Each year, thousands of families and individuals must wait too long to be provided with public housing while continuing to live in temporary and unstable conditions. The lack of affordable housing and the delayed implementation of public housing facilities make it impossible to solve homelessness sustainably. Those forced to live in slums, overcrowded shelters, and families unable to find stable housing continue to live in extremely difficult conditions, unable to escape poverty and instability. The question arises, if the current homelessness support system is not strong enough and cannot keep up with the actual needs, can Michigan continue to endure this situation? The lack of effective programs and policies not only worsens homelessness, but also leaves the most vulnerable in society behind, without opportunities to change their lives. This system needs comprehensive reform, with stronger support programs, accelerated public housing projects, and fairer resource distribution to truly help those struggling with homelessness in Michigan. The homelessness crisis in Michigan not only harms those directly involved, but also creates widespread consequences that affect the healthcare system, public safety, and social order. One of the most significant consequences of this situation is the burden on the public healthcare system, especially in areas with high homelessness rates like Detroit. Hospitals in Michigan, which have always faced resource shortages, now have to shoulder a large number of emergency cases from the homeless community. These patients not only suffer from common diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and respiratory illnesses, but many also have dangerous infectious diseases like tuberculosis and pneumonia, worsening the situation. The increase in these diseases is not only due to poor diet and inadequate living conditions, but also because of the lack of access to regular healthcare services. Without health insurance and the ability to pay for healthcare, the homeless cannot access basic treatments. This results in their health deteriorating, increasing the number of emergency cases in hospitals, and putting pressure on an already overburdened healthcare system. Moreover, without early intervention and treatment, health issues within the homeless community often become more severe and complicated, driving up treatment costs and making it harder for healthcare facilities to provide services to everyone. The homelessness crisis goes beyond affecting public health. It also strongly impacts public safety and order. Areas with high homelessness rates like downtown Detroit and Flint are witnessing an increase in criminal activity. When homeless individuals live in deprivation, they start feeling desperate and must find ways to survive at any cost. They are often forced to face shortages of food, clothing, and other basic necessities, leading many to commit theft, steal food, or take essential items from others to survive. The increase in these behaviors not only affects local residents, but also creates an unstable environment, threatening public safety. This situation becomes more serious with the growing addiction crisis within the homeless community. Drugs, especially fentanyl and methamphetamine, are rampant in these areas, fueling more criminal behavior and violence. Drug addicts, in their desperation, are willing to do anything to get what they need. The rise in crime and addiction has escalated violence and property violations, making it difficult for police forces to maintain order and protect the community. Fights, domestic violence, and other criminal activities are becoming increasingly common, creating an unsafe environment, not only for the homeless, but also for surrounding residents. The homelessness crisis is creating a severe vicious cycle where poor health, rising crime, and the extreme desperation of homeless individuals lead to far-reaching consequences for society as a whole. The lack of healthcare programs and social services is only worsening the situation. Authorities must take timely and effective measures to not only reduce homelessness, but also minimize the negative impacts it has on society. The homelessness crisis in Michigan is not just an issue for a minority group. It is a complex social puzzle that requires strong intervention from both the government and the community. This is a widespread issue that affects not only the homeless, but also every sector of society. The The rising cost of housing, shortage of healthcare and mental health services, and the lack of effective social support programs are making the homelessness situation even more severe. To address this problem in the long term, a comprehensive change is needed in housing policies, healthcare and mental health support, as well as the reform of social programs, creating job opportunities, and increasing affordable housing development projects. We cannot just rely on temporary measures. Organizations, governments, and communities need to work closely together to build a long-term housing development strategy, not just providing temporary shelter but creating real opportunities for homeless individuals to reintegrate and lead stable lives. It is essential to focus on providing mental health services, creating job opportunities for the poor, and expanding educational projects to help them improve their lives and escape the vicious cycle of homelessness. We call on everyone to join in changing the homelessness situation in Michigan. Please share this video, engage in conversations, and promote change in the community to address this issue. Don't forget to subscribe to stay with us on this journey of uncovering real stories about societal issues that need to be addressed. Together, we can make a difference.